We have 7 living words. There are 7 energy vortices, 7 chakras. There are 7 layers of thought. The difference between success and struggle is the degree to which we are aware of and manage our intention, attention, and thoughts. Your unconscious thinking creates just as powerfully and swiftly as your conscious thinking does. Unconscious thoughts are like misguided darts, whereas intentionally directed thoughts result in precise outcomes. Understanding the levels your thoughts transition through will prove helpful in managing them. So will hitting that subscribe button. Namaste. Namaskaram. Thoughts occur at many levels of loudness, from the screaming, arguing thought that bursts out of your mouth without warning, to the complete silence of knowingness. Although there are many levels or layers of thought, let's keep it simple, shall we? And talk about the 7 distinct layers available to each of us. These layers do not have rigid lines of definition. There is actually a fluidity and flow between them. The flow from one layer of thought to the next is similar to the way the colors of a rainbow blend into one another. For example, the red layer flows into the orange layer with no rigid lines separating the 2 colors. The first layer of thought is where we speak without considering what we are saying. We see this occur every day. The man in the airport just blurting out meaningless comments. The woman chattering away as if she has no filter. Seconds later, they don't even remember what they said. Functioning in this layer of thought, a person generally is unconscious of being unconscious and goes about their day in a default mode versus being conscious and intentional. Most of those who have not awakened spiritually live in the first layer of thought. But even those who are more self-aware can still find themselves moving in and out of this layer of thought. You might make a project of becoming aware of when you and others around you are in this layer. Notice the unnecessary comments, gossip, or noisy conversation. When you begin to become conscious of this layer of thought, you will quickly become uncomfortable in the unconscious babble that you may find yourself surrounded by or demonstrating. When you are conscious of the first layer of thought, you will make better choices about how to present yourself and the layer of thought in which you want to live. This layer of thought and the next 2 layers operate in 3rd dimensional past, future time. The second layer of thought. This is the layer where you have conversations or arguments with other people in your head. You go back and forth in your mind about a situation and how you were right, bad, wrong, hurt. And you scold the other person for being wrong, bad, hurtful, stupid. Guilt and blame live here in this second layer of thought, along with resentment and justification. These thoughts can become very loud and consuming habits. This level of thought has a relationship to telepathy and clairaudience. That conversation you are having in your head is very real in the moment, and it is happening. Whether the person you are talking to is next to you or 1,000 miles away, the conversation is occurring. On an energetic level, that other person can feel the energy you are throwing at them. This is also the layer where you really want to curse at that person standing before you. You stupid person, idiot, jerk. But instead you smile pleasantly and continue to argue with them in your head. Like the first layer of thought, this one has a huge amount of internal motion to it. In both layers, you are still engaging with the situation versus listening or being still. Many long-held limiting habits of thought reside in this layer, and you may not even be aware of them. The third layer of thought. This is the last layer of thought within the third dimension. The third layer is where you figure things out, strategize, fix, and problem solve. There is still motion here and an internal back and forth type of conversation, as well as a degree of engagement and emotional attachment. This layer is very involved in the rational mind's need to figure things out. I tried 3 different things and know there has to be a solution. How can I troubleshoot this issue before the deadline? Okay, I said hello to her, but she didn't see me. What do I do now to get her attention? What does that sign over there say? It looks so interesting. Although not as loud and intense as the first 2 layers of thought, there is still undisciplined focus in this layer. It has more to do with figuring something out for yourself, however, than with engaging with someone else. Your mind is bouncing around trying to find an answer. There is a looking outward and a compulsion to find the answer, rather than taking a breath, becoming quiet, and allowing the answer to make itself available to you. The fourth layer of thought. This layer is a place that can be defined as pondering. It is being curious and sitting back without being engaged in a situation. This is the first non-engaged, non-invested layer of thought. This layer is curious. I wonder how that will unfold. Where did that come from? What an interesting possibility. There is no emotional attachment, judgment, or predefinition of answers or possibilities. Many times you get into this easy layer when you aren't stressed or in a moment when there are few external demands on you. You might think, maybe it's time to consider moving. I wonder where I would like to live. This is a question without a defined answer to it. The question is open-ended. The answer appears where that non-charged question is asked. All you have to do is allow it and not move from your thought to search for the answer. The answer and the wondering thoughts surrounding the answer then come into your awareness from the broader field of possibilities. Well, if I go to Portland, Oregon, I will have this experience. And if I go to Tokyo, I will have that experience. And then I could always move down to Perth in Australia and have another experience. The process unfolds by itself, and you are simply watching and allowing the process from a place of neutral curiosity from the center of your head or higher mind. You are not actively searching out an answer. In this layer of thought, someone might say to you, "Have you considered Boulder, Colorado?" And you're open and allowing without rejecting or judging the possibility. No opinion, just curious. This is a present time, fourth dimensional consciousness. Incidentally, within this fourth layer of thought, which is your present time, fourth dimensional consciousness, this is where you posit a question to your higher self. Just simply clear your mind and say, state, invoke your higher self. Say it. Hello, my higher self. How should I consider this situation? And wait with a clear mind in this fourth layer of thought, present time, perfect here and now moment, and wait. Your higher self, you will hear a word in your mind. You will sense the words. Your higher self will communicate to you, and it begins in this fourth layer of thought. Now the fifth layer of thought, this is the layer of thought where things really start to get creative and quiet. This is where your consciousness begins naturally and organically to pull together many of the floating, curious pieces, combining them with the deeper, unconscious aspects of you and organizing them in such a way that you become much more conscious, focused, and capable with your innate wisdom. This layer takes the curious interests of the fourth layer, the field of possibilities, and brings it to your mental workbench to organize and become more real as a possibility. This is done not with greater thought or concentration, but with greater quietness, allowing stillness and trust. The answers come to where the question is considered. This is where I wonder where I'd like to move unfolds into yes. London feels aligned, right, and good, with no effort or worry or figuring it out, no thought. It's an awareness, as if you heard the words but cannot define where they come from. Living in this layer of thought is magical. Although it isn't magic, it is inspired. Many artists and writers create when in this layer. The creation process just flows, and the book or painting writes or paints itself. Many describe this state as being in the zone. So that leaves us with the sixth layer of thought, and following that the seventh. But perhaps we should rename this sixth layer of thought, we should rename this layer the layer of no thought. This layer is similar to a great meditation where you find yourself easily sitting still for 3 hours in an awareness of, this is so good, I don't want to get up. This layer is an extremely quiet place where you begin to access deeper fields of awareness. You begin to think, or better yet, exist, without thoughts as words. This occurs because you are in the higher fourth and fifth dimensional fields of knowledge. You begin to have conscious access to the greatness that you are. It is in this space that you begin to have a sure sense of your powerfulness, your presence, and your capabilities. This is where a thought enters the physical form from the non-physical. This is where the rays of creation truly begin to be used to arrange and rearrange all possibilities without any limitation. Although no thought is thought in words, everything comes effortlessly to you as an understanding, a knowing. It is in this layer of thought that much of the work of this alchemical light alchemy course is realized, is practiced in this sixth layer of thought. You begin to play in the fifth dimension where time, space, and gravity all operate differently than is understood in the third dimension. This is the place where alchemy occurs, where you begin to change the harmonics of matter, rearrange the frequencies of thought, and apply the element of love in such a manner that on your terms, you rearrange the molecules and instantaneously begin to produce in simultaneous time whatever you desire. Can you make that happen in this moment? Yes, but not if the noise of the first 3 layers of thought is your habit. As you play with the layers of thought and become more masterful, you will build more templates of clear awareness and create expanding platforms to stand upon and create from. These 5th and 6th layers are where you will live most of your day in greater balance and ease. From here, you can do what is necessary to allow more light to enter into your body. It is in this place that you begin to know yourself as soul. Now, we enter into the seventh layer of thought. The seventh layer of thought is indefinable. This is the Tao of Lao Tzu. For he who can speak of the way does not know the way. This is the path to the inner kingdom of heaven within each of you. It is very personal in its expression of when you attempt to convey this seventh layer of thought. This is the layer of thought. This is the crown chakra. This is where your mastery is realized. In this seventh layer of thought, there are no human words available to describe it. Available to describe it. It's where you and the thought, that thought you into existence, think together. Now, if I were to skirt around the edges of that with some definitions, I could say that this layer is the place where you are in full relationship with your soul. This may be the unimaginable to you. Your soul has everything to do with the creation of you. Creator created you, the infinite prime creator, the divine grid programmer created you, but your soul has created you, your third dimension expression that we're most familiar with. But when you and your soul begin to think as one, within the higher aspect of Creator, the infinite prime Creator, you begin to think together in the unified field of consciousness. The law of one, the sons of the law of one. You enter into the ranks of the sons of the law of one, into the unified field of consciousness. You are no longer a third or fourth dimensional being. You can begin to play very consciously as a citizen of the fifth, sixth, and seventh dimensions. At this point, you still have physicality, but not a physical body as you know it. You will have a crystallized body that is less physically dense. The living light body is now becoming very available to each one of us, but in order to create it, expanded levels of light have to be brought into your form through the mental and emotional bodies. Those two bodies hold third dimensional density, resistance, and resentment. This is where ugly thoughts and ugly emotions live. The predominant purpose of this light alchemy video offering is for you to become conscious of being conscious and aware of being aware, integrating enough light into your mental and emotional bodies to the point where you don't have those ugly thoughts and ugly emotions, reactions and resistances. When you can clear that energy from your emotional and mental bodies, they will emerge and become one, just as they originally were intended. When this happens, you will begin to play with great awareness in the fifth, sixth, and seventh layers of thoughts, those dimensions. You will begin to change the density of your physicality from a carbon dense body that does not absorb light to a crystalline body of light that will allow a very significant transformation of your physical body. This is what begins to happen in the seventh layer of thought. However, what I just described doesn't adequately express what is possible. There are no words, although we are getting closer to finding them through quantum mechanics, quantum physics. In the meantime, I hope this gives you a better sense, dear esteemed, noble, honorable, and notable viewer, of these layers, of these 7 layers of thought and structure that will enable you to become more aware of your inner workings. As you become the quiet observer of your thoughts and patterns, the noise will lessen, and a stillness of understanding and knowingness will prevail. And that is precisely where humanity is headed on the golden age timeline of the new earth. If you agree, dear esteemed viewer, please hit the subscribe button, Leave this video a thumbs up and stay tuned for further video offerings and information disseminations from the Umbanda New Earth Ashram for compassion, strength, and fifth dimensional focus.
Namaste. Namaskaram.